start to talk to me about once we started to implement resilience, confidence, goal setting systems, like what were some of those goals that you started to aim towards, and what were some of the results that you got out of the process that you're really proud of?
I mean, I'll just share, I guess, my highlights of the year in like bullet point form. In a 17-year career, I had my third best year trading wise this year, in terms of P&L. I never thought I'd come close to my 2022 year. I got a little close this year, so that was nice. I actually had three of my single best days of my career. So my career shifted to where now sometimes I just pounce on really big trades when I see them in front of me. And I had the best day, second best day, and third best day of my career between April and July of this year after starting to work with you in March. And of course, some of that's market dependent. There were some incredible opportunities in a particular trade strategy that I'm pretty good at. But had I not had my confidence back, had I not visualized those outcomes, I don't think I would have been on top of the trades the way that I was after working with you.
All right, so I'm super excited to do this interview today because I'm joined today by one of my clients, Tommy, and what we're going to be talking about today is just his transformation and the process that he's gone through from starting out and having a record career year. And so, Tommy, I am super excited, and thanks for jumping on today, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I was like, we were talking about this before, but really, like, the purpose of today is just tell a little bit about your story. What were some of the most beneficial parts of the coaching process? And before we get into any of this, I just kind of want to repeat what I just said, in that you are genuinely one of the most impressive people I've ever been around. Just your story and kind of the year that you put together has truly been inspiring to be a part of. And I'm just grateful to have you as a client and as a friend. And so,
Thank you.
yeah. And so, start to just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do, and what made you want to reach out for coaching in the first place.
Sure, yeah. So my name's Tommy Pelletier. I'm a New England native. I've lived in this area my whole life, but I've worked in the New York area for the last 20 years and mainly as a currency trader. I now trade a lot more than just currencies. I'm at a Chicago-based proprietary trading firm. Been doing that for about 17 years. I am a husband. I'm a father of two wonderful kids that just became adults in the last few years themselves. I stay busy with a lot of other things in life. I'm very social. I'm involved in some ministry and stuff at church, and just generally a very happy-go-lucky kind of guy. I'm just blessed to be alive. I came from nothing and kind of found some success through making my way to Wall Street after a good education, and just grateful to be in this industry. So that's kind of who I am as a background for you. But what made me reach out to Mario this year was I was going through the first real negative quarter of my career in trading. I've had negative months. I'd have lots of negative days, lots of losing trades. That's part of the business. No one bats 1,000 in our business. But in a prop trading seat, when you're getting a direct portion of whatever you generate, it's your own money just leveraged up through the firm's capital, essentially. It can feel like a really long time when you go through a rut in trading. So to be negative for 3 consecutive months, you feel like 3 years, and I was coming off my best year of my career in 2022. It ebbs and flows, right? Like 2020, COVID times, crazy year, had a great year. 2021 was challenging, and I'm like, do I want to do this again for a while? I was turning 40 soon after that. 2022 was an amazing career year, and then 2023 was slower. And then you come into 2024, and I start out with a negative quarter. And I got caught in this vicious cycle of thinking like the market's changing and evolving, algorithmic trading is taking over, AI is in the market now doing things that I used to be really good at way faster than I could ever do. So I started to question, like, did this market pass me by? Like, are my strategies still, viable? And I got really caught into a cycle of just negative thought processes. And it rubbed off on other people that I speak to. They'd be like, wow, this isn't like you, man, this is tough. Like, oh, even they call me TP at work. Oh, even TP struggling. This must be a really hard market. And, I'd get nervous even before big events. I'd feel this pressure like, okay, big event day, a Fed meeting, inflation report. I've got to make back all this money I haven't been making. And I would get a little nervous and feel the pressure. And I used to crave those kind of days,
Yeah.
basketball tip-off, not that I'm an NBA player, but, high school, you could feel the excitement. And even though the nerves were there, it was good. It started to be like the nerves weren't good anymore. So I was in a really bad place. And I know a trader at my firm that happened to know you, Mario. And so by word of mouth and reference, that's how we connected.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And I think anybody who's watching this or listening to this can probably relate because, there's a lot of entrepreneurs, high achievers, high performers, hold ourselves to a really high standard. But anytime you're going through a rut in a performance-based career, you feel bad because you're not living up to that standard. It's almost like the curse of like the high achiever. And so you kind of start to talk about like what were some of those challenges? Like it sounded like confidence was
Definitely.
one that
Yep.
kept, you know, impacting your results, the negative self-talk.
Mhm.
Um, was there anything else that you feel like you were struggling with at the beginning? Like, and how did that feel?
There was just so coming into this year, I had a feeling I was going to be moving as well, which ended up happening, selling a house, downsizing. My kids were going
Yeah.
through transition stuff in their lives. Of course, I have some savings. The nature of my business is kind of feast or famine year to year. So you stack for a rainy day. But I started doing calculations of like, if I don't ever make another dollar trading, how long do the savings last? Like, how long can I stretch the rations? Like things I hadn't really done before. So I would just say there were more like bigger picture, zoomed out concerns of will I be able to provide the way that I always have.
Mm,
Coming from poverty, that was like not when I was young, that was not a good feeling because I've been comfortable for a while. So yeah, I would say it was really just more concerning outside of just the trading is like, what do I do? How do I even, if this doesn't work, how do I pivot to a new career? This is such a niche thing that I do in this particular style
wow.
of trading. It's not like I can just go walk into a CFO position tomorrow, right? There'd be a lot of transition that would have to happen. And so it was scary. It was a scary time for me.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like the lack of confidence, the negative thinking, then the overwhelm of like all the other
Yeah.
things and responsibilities that were going on top of it, right?
Overwhelm is a great word. Yeah. That
Yeah.
summarized a lot of it.
Yeah. Okay. And so then it's still so funny just like looking back at it, knowing how amazing your year has been to know like that's where you were at. But once we got started with coaching, what were some of the most beneficial or helpful aspects of the process that helped you just bounce back and get out of that rut?
There were a lot of exercises that we did the first like 4 to 6 weeks that really helped ground me. In short, I would say it just helped me reassert my own confidence in myself. You had me do some exercises where I would visualize some of my biggest trading wins before, reliving the moments. Kind of, you actually had me do almost like meditation where I'd close my eyes, see those moments, remember what I did right, remember how that felt, remember that I am a good trader still. And we started using the habit sharing app, and I started to track the habits that help me perform well, whether it's related to sleep or faith or trading specific things or exercise, whatever. So that was very helpful. And you read those and respond every day. And there was even one of the habits that we developed together was I had to record one positive takeaway from my trading every day. So even if I lose money, I have to find some positive nugget of the day, record the win, as you would say. And
Yeah.
that was really helpful. And then we went through this process of understanding how we can't control events, certainly not control the stock market or the currency market or anything to do with markets. What I'm in control of is my thoughts and how I respond to those situations. And going through a few exercises with you about that and understanding how my initial thought affects my feelings, which affects, the behavior I take and all the consequences to come from that. That was really helpful because we go through trading challenges, but it's like, how do you think about that challenge and how do you respond to that difficult moment? Is it like, okay, I learned the lesson and I can move on, or do you just sit and like sulk and you're like, oh, I could have done better. Oh, I didn't do my, and that's what I had been doing prior. And I think all traders have a little bit of that in them, but I was really in a negative cycle. I would say the last thing that I found really tangibly helpful from you was like setting goals. So I've
Yeah.
always been good at kind of talking to my wife or talking to like a men's group that I'm in about things I want to do next year, but you can get busy. And, without having an accountability partner, I hadn't really set like monthly and quarterly goals in such a structured way as I started to do with you meeting every week, or at one point we switched to every 2 weeks, and we would set these monthly and quarterly goals. And it wasn't just for like trading profits. It was things like, I want to be the trading manager this year. I want to build out this giant national trading competition as a new recruiting pathway for my firm. I was setting like some really specific goals with that stuff, but also my personal life, some of the stuff related to us moving, some goals for my kids, and everything that I set goals for, man, we were crushing them together. And I say together because you were right there with me. Like helping me identify, okay, so if the long run goal is X, how do we get there? Let's set a tangible goal 30 days out, 60 days out, 90 days out.
Yeah.
And we did that. And then we checked in together. And sometimes I was setting profit goals, and those worked out too in some cases. In other cases, I fell a little short, but it's still good to continue to do that process. So yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah.
just recognizing the other thing was you had me go through this exercise where it's not about who's the best Tommy Pelletier and how do you be that guy again. Of course, that's nice to aspire to that, but it was this gap versus gain mindset of recognizing where I am versus where I started and measuring that
Yeah.
success instead of comparing myself to other people. Will always be traders and investors that are smarter, better, and doing way better things than me. That's not realistic. And I can't always compare myself to my previous best high performing self because it was a different market and a different time. So I think all those various exercises with the goal setting was like really, really powerful in the first 3 to 4 months that we got working together. And then, from there, it was almost like on cruise control that every meeting after that, we kind of knew the process and things were just falling
Yeah.
in line for me all year.
Man, there's some really good things there that I want to highlight because the first thing for anybody who's listening to this or watching this, if you're that high performer, high achiever, but you're in a rut, you're struggling, the number one thing that you've got to take back is your confidence. And that's really what we started with for you. And the way we rebuilt your confidence was by reminding you of all of your past wins
Right.
and then reminding you that you are capable of that still. And then starting to look for evidence for that every single day. Like if you think about your your confidence like a bank account, you've got to make those deposits every day.
Right.
And that's where like the wins process came in. And I think that was one thing that was really helpful for you. And then another thing I want to highlight that you talked about is just the ability to bounce back from losses and deal with setbacks. That's something that anytime you're in a rut and you don't have the confidence, any sort of loss or setback takes a lot longer to bounce back from. But when you're in a career like you are trading, it is like you've got to be top of mind, like in a peak state 100% of the time, right? And you can't have any sort of periods when you're getting emotional. You've got to be able to stay on it. And I think a lot of people that are watching this or listening to this, entrepreneurs, high achievers, sales, it's the same thing. You've got to like really control your emotions. And so, can you just talk about like how important that was, and any like any aspects there? Because I think that's a really important thing for somebody who's watching or listening.
That's like way easier said than done in a trading seat, but it's definitely applicable. And I found myself at times like after starting to work with you, I didn't always have great days. I had a couple days where I still got smoked and took some sizable losses, but through some breathing exercises that we worked on together, through some
Yeah.
redirecting the mindset, just being able to like channel that emotion and say, today was just a lesson day. Today was a losing day. It happens. And just still keeping that confidence and moving forward to the next day and through all the other things that I mentioned a few moments ago, that just really helped me get through those tough times.
Yeah. And I think one thing I want to highlight about you is you were so decisive, you were so like action oriented, and you were so consistent this entire time. And that's why you've been able to get such amazing results. And so start to talk to me about once we started to implement resilience, confidence, goal setting systems, like what were some of those goals that you started to aim towards, and what were some of the results that you got out of the process that you're really proud of?
I mean, I'll just share, I guess, my highlights of the year in like bullet point form. In a 17-year career, I had my third best year trading wise this year, in terms of P&L. I never thought I'd come close to my 2022 year. I got a little close this year, so that was nice. I actually had 3 of my single best days of my career. So my career shifted to where now sometimes I just pounce on really big trades when I see them in front of me. And I had the best day, second best day, and third best day of my career between April and July of this year after starting to work with you in March. And of course, some of that's market dependent. There were some incredible opportunities in a particular trade strategy that I'm pretty good at. But had I not had my confidence back, had I not visualized those outcomes, I don't think I would have been on top of the trades the way that I was after working with you. Outside of trading, my goal was also to be a manager this year and build this national trading competition for my firm and hire a couple traders out of it. That all happened. The timeline, there were some people in my firm that probably thought it was a lofty goal to do it all in 6 months and build out the trading side of it, the compliance side, the legal side, the technology side. It was an awesome opportunity for me this year. I got to work with the brightest minds in my firm, across the firm, and get to know a lot of people in Chicago that I hadn't worked with before. And to have your support through that whole thing and have every one of those boxes checked. And then the competition was a great success. We paid prize money to some traders, and we hired a couple. I hired a young man from Pennsylvania and another one from Ohio. They're both moving to the New York area. One's here already, one's coming soon, to work for my team. So that's a pretty tangible result. And you coached me through that whole process. I would say another result this year is I've shared the habit sharing app with at least 10 people. Some just friends that casually want to use it, and I have my traders that work for me using it now and doing check-ins with me. So pretty incredible.
It's insane.
I'm just so grateful for this year and the way that it turned around.
It's so cool, like, just to go back and relive that, because when you had your career days, like, those are some of my best days too. Just like getting to, like, I just get, I feel like I'm on your team, and I want to see you succeed. And so not only just having like a top 3 career year, but then leveling up and becoming a trading manager. And then I also like launching the breakout. I feel like you need to talk a little bit more about like what the breakout is, because it is really like an innovative approach that was a massive undertaking for the firm. So can you just talk about like how that was a vision, that was a goal, and then what that actually led to, and what that could be in the future?
Yeah, sure. So our prop trading firm, Chicago-based, we've always recruited either very experienced traders with a track record from other prop firms or banks, or we've gone to the college campus recruiting method. And we did the college campus recruiting for, more than 10 to 12 years. And we've hired some fantastic traders out of it, a good handful of them. But the sad and challenging part is, I'd say, I don't know the exact number, maybe 80 to 90% of the college graduates 2 to 3 years later aren't really making any money in a trading seat. And we have to cut ties. And so there's a lot of turnover, and it hasn't been the best way to recruit new trading talent. And our firm recognized that. I heard that message from them loud and clear, and they were looking for new ways. And as I was transitioning at the end of last year, I told my managers I want to run a team too. And they gave me that blessing, and that was already in motion when I met you. But I said to them, I'd like to go look for retail traders that are trading at home. Maybe they're an engineer who's doing it at night, or they're actually just trading their own money at home full time, like 8 to 12 hours a day. There's more of these retail traders out there than ever before since COVID. And I said, there's got to be some good ones out there. And let's find the ones that trade the products we trade. Let's host a national competition where for 2 months they can all trade on one of our systems, interact with myself and we had a slew of other Gelber employees that helped with that to monitor and mentor them and give them feedback. And so it was this long 6-month build out process, 2-month competition, a lot of time, money, energy, resources went into it. And we monitored these traders for a couple months, and we found some great talent. And it was hard to choose who to hire. It was very difficult, but we picked a couple of them. And ideally, we do another competition in 2025. The firm seemed to like it. Right up to the top management, they've been very supportive, and they've been awesome the whole way to trust in me and have faith in me to build it out. And like I said, I worked with some great minds that put little pieces of it together that I hadn't thought of, and it took a village, but we got there. And it's something that I don't think we'd seen another prop firm really do. There are a lot of trading competitions online you can do that are educational, or just simulated money with like not real big prizes. This was a pretty cool competition. We paid out $35,000 in real prize money to the top 3.
Yeah.
We ended up choosing 30 traders after hundreds applied from across the country, and it was a really exciting time. And yeah, ideally we do it again next year. We may do different iterations of it. This was all discretionary traders. We may do an algorithmic competition. We may, do more of like an equity options trading competition in the future. You never know. It was a pretty cool pathway, and I'm excited to see where it goes next year.
And that's where it's like, it was such a visionary, like massive project to take on, in addition to increasing and improving your individual performance. So
yeah.
like, that's where I just really wanted to give that the appropriate attention. And
I mean,
This is going to be the method,
I
right?
was putting like 10 to 15 hours a week into the project management side, outside of my own trading. So it was an incredibly busy time after I had moved and, got into a new apartment, new city, and building a new social life here and like trying to do trading for my income because I wasn't paid for building out this project, the breakout.
Yeah.
The end game for me and what the incentive for me is that who I hire from it makes money for my team, and then there's
Yeah.
reward. So to put that much time in was it was a challenge this year, and hopefully it wouldn't be as much time to build version 2 next year.
Nice. So, yeah, I think that's just like an incredible look at your individual career year, the trading manager, growing the team, the breakout, and all of that. So, as you're reflecting back on where you were at before you started, and you were struggling kind of confidence wise to where you're at now, how would you say that you've transformed through the process?
I would say that I've just re-embraced my positive nature. I was a pretty positive guy before I met you. I just happened to be in this like really negative cycle, and it's like you just brought me back to the. It's like you caught me drowning and you brought me back to the surface. So I've just re-embraced my glass half full, opportunistic look at life in general. My faith has gotten stronger. My faith in God, my faith in myself and my abilities that He gave me. And I think I've just found myself like sharing this story with a lot of people this year. A lot of traders have asked me, "How have you turned it around?" And hey, who's this trading coach you're working with? And so you might get some calls soon. But
That's
just
cool.
I'm sharing that story with people because just like how when I was young and I was in foster care and a lot of crazy things happened to me when I was young and I was resilient and I made it out of that. Through this, I reminded myself, and you helped me pull out my resilience to get through it again. So I think I'm just embracing that positivity, gratitude type mindset, and just really floating right now, just in a good mental space.
Mm. I love that you said that because you already are one of the most resilient like people that I know. And I know we even talked about like resilience and anti-fragile, like somebody who actually
Mm,
gets stronger
right.
through the adversity and through
I
the
remember
chaos.
that.
Like you are that way. Sometimes you just need somebody to kind of pull that out of you.
Right.
And that's not anything that I did. It's just revealing more of who you are. And I think another thing that we definitely need to kind of highlight, which really helped the connection and helped you grow, was focusing more on your faith. And so, can you talk at all about what was it maybe early on that made you realize, or what was something that you did to help use your faith to pull you out of that rut and like help you become more resilient and achieve these results?
Hmm. It's a good question. I don't have a single moment in time that I can think of, but I've always had, since I was in my early 20s and found God, I've always, relied on my faith for a number of things, but it doesn't jive well. It doesn't go together to be like super negative and down on yourself and despondent and be faithful in God. It's like, it's a contradiction. So
Mm.
I think it just brought that to the surface and realigned me. And through
Yeah.
the move this year, I've been, in a new city. Been trying a couple of new churches, but I've had this really consistent men's group that I help lead on Monday nights, and I've shared a lot of what I went through this year with them. And even when I met you, I'm like, I met this guy that's a trading coach, and one of the first, when I told him about my faith, one of the first things he did was share this scripture with me, and it was the
Yeah.
Proverbs 16:3 scripture, and it's commit your works to the Lord, and they will succeed. And it just, I had all these plans and visions for things I wanted to do in 2024 that I felt were right, and I think they were. But through prayer and through alignment of my faith, I was able to make sure that like every step that I took was in line with how I felt God wanted it to be. And some things were different and some were exactly how I saw it. But the point is like you can have all these plans and all these goals and all these things you
Yeah.
want to do, but if you take that Proverbs 16:3 verse and really apply, well, I guess you should read 1 and 2 before. A man, I think it's to paraphrase, like a man can have many thoughts, but like God knows the true way or something like that. And then the third verse is about the success part. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I leaned into it like I usually do, but I needed help. I needed support, and you were there for me at the right time, and it really helped dig me out and get back to that positivity mindset. And yeah, my
Yeah.
faith is stronger through it all. Every time you come out of the storm on the other side, even if you're not a person of strong faith, I think you can say sometimes you can say, I'm grateful for what I went through because I learned X, Y, and Z, or I'm more resilient now, or I'm more anti-fragile, to use your term. And
Yeah.
kind of how I found myself coming into the summer of this year. And then it's just been like cruise control since. And Not to say
Yeah,
things can't ever turn back down. Challenging times will come, storms will come, but
100%.
I'll remember what I went through in Q1 of 2024, and I hopefully will be able to lean on that and not fall into the rut that I fell into this time.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that because like a lot about what we talk about is like, confidence and resilience and systems and actions and goal setting, but for me and for you, like our faith is the foundation for all of that. So if anybody is that high achiever, high performer, but you're struggling, like look at your foundation. Your foundation for a lot of you is can be your faith. And so Proverbs 16:3 was that verse that came to me that I read when I was struggling, and it helped me so much, gave me so much peace. So that's why I was so kind of grateful, and I just knew it was the right thing for you in that moment. And I
Right.
love that you're sharing that with other people as well. So
Definitely. Definitely.
um awesome, man. So yeah, I guess any pieces of advice for anyone who is kind of in your shoes at the beginning, somebody who is that high achiever, high performer, but they're struggling, they're maybe in that rut, they're considering maybe reaching out, or any advice that you have for them?
I would say an old dog can still learn new tricks. I'm not that old, but I turned 40 and I've had this career of 20 years of doing the same thing. And I thought I could always self remedy any issue. And I couldn't this time around, but I did still have the ability to change back to who I was and change in different ways. It just took the right accountability partner, it took the right coach to get me through there. So don't sell yourself short. Don't get into this state of like, I can't, because it's just not,
Mm,
you won't be able to if you keep saying that, right? And that's what I was telling myself. I don't think I can do this anymore. And that was a really, really scary negative spiral. So
mm,
basically, bet on yourself. It's kind of what you do in a proprietary trading seat anyway. We don't have a salary. We only get paid on, to eat what you kill here. So bet on yourself, buy into the belief that you can change and you can find a way out of negativity spirals. It just takes the right mindset, the right approach, and like I said, the right coach or right accountability partner and habit setting and other things like that. So
yeah. Well,
all I got.
yeah, find a way, and yeah, find a way, and keep learning new things. Bet on yourself. I think that's great advice. And I just got to say, man, I'm just again like so inspired by your growth this year, the way that you've gone about it, and I know that you just renewed for another year. So super excited
Sure.
to help level up and build on this foundation in 2025 for you and your team. And maybe we'll do another one at the end of 2025, talking about similar success and wins. But
I
I
hope
just,
so. I would welcome that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So just wanted to say thank you. And so for anybody who's listening to this and you're kind of in that same spot looking to level up, reach out, send me a DM on Instagram or click the link below and book a call. Would love to connect with you and talk about ways to help you level up and reach your goals. So Tommy, thanks for jumping on, man.
Thank you for having me, Mario. You're a true friend and mentor. Appreciate you.